Okay, so I just adjusted some of these pins to make sure that everything was even. And I'm going to apologize because I wasn't even paying attention while I was stitching, because it's always good practice that when you put in a zipper that you stitch from the bottom of your zipper to the top. And I didn't even realize that until I got done pinning all of these into place, that I actually stitched from the top to the bottom. And that's just, it's really not a good practice to do. You want to start at the bottom so that you're starting at the same position with your zipper every time. So hopefully you caught that and you didn't do as I do, but you know, I'm sure that if you did it from the top to the bottom, it's not going to be the end of the world. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm working from the bottom to the top this time, I'm still going to be using that lift Mickey Mouse here to go ahead and slide my coils through. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and put our, kind of guide those coils up into that Mickey Mouse here, and then go ahead and set your, lower your presser foot and then lower your needle into the zipper tape and into the fabric. And then the first thing that we want to do is we want to go back, we want to go forward, but then we want to back it up as much as we can, as close as we can until we get to, until like our zipper slider won't let us go anymore. And then we can continue going forward to stitch this into place. Then as I approach those pins, I'm just going to go ahead and pull them out. And as you can see, or what you'll probably be able to see, is that that kind of toe on the front of your invisible zipper foot, it's kind of also guiding those coils upward to really stay inside of that Mickey Mouse ear scoop, which is what it's designed to do. Alright, and then when we get to the top of our stitch line, we're just going to do a quick back tack again, and then be done with that. And then you can go ahead and pull out your threads and go ahead and trim everything up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come back from the top side, going from the top, because I think I was able to get a little bit closer to the slider when going from the top to the bottom than the bottom to the top. So I'm just going to do a quick kind of stitch into place, going in the opposite direction. So I'm putting my coils through the right side of the Mickey Mouse ears here on this side, and I'm just going to run them straight down, or guide my coils straight down into there if I can, so I can just get a little bit closer of stitching to that to the slider area. So I'm just going to kind of hold that in place, making sure that I'm only stitching through that kind of seam allowance area. And I'm going to do a quick back tack on that, just to see if I can get a little bit closer. And I think I'm able to maybe get maybe 1/4 of an inch closer. So not like a whole lot, but you know, a little bit goes a long way. Then I can go ahead and I just back tack when I was able to get a little bit closer, and then I'm just going to come back and trim up these tails. Okay, let me grab these. Okay, now the only thing that we have left to do is we just have to stitch up this seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my zipper foot just a little bit, or close my zipper just a little bit, and then I'm going to come back with my the bottom from those notch areas on the bottom of my skirt side seam. I'm just going to go ahead and close those, and then put a couple pins in to hold them in place. And then what I need to do is I actually need to change zipper feet. Right now we have the invisible zipper foot on, but we need to go ahead and grab that regular zipper foot. I'm going to go ahead and put my invisible zipper foot away and go ahead and grab my regular zipper foot E. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and attach my zipper foot and lower it. I'm gonna be stitching so that everything is kind of, all my seam allowances and as much of my zipper tape as I can is pointed to the right, so that means I want to attach my zipper on my presser foot arm to my zipper foot on the left prong. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch the seam closed, and I mean it's maybe 2 inches. It's not very much at all, and I'm not going to be able to get like right on top of the the zipper, and actually I need to go to the left side. Well, I wonder if I can go this other way. I want to stitch from the top to the bottom, so I actually need to switch my zipper foot so that I'm connected to the right prong, the right hand side of the prong, because all my zipper is going to be on the right side, and I need that space so that there's not as much bulk underneath of my actual zipper foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gliding my fabric around, and what I'm going to try to do is I want to try to insert my needle so that it's as close as I can, maybe about 1/8 of an inch away from the fabric edge, so towards the body of the garment, about 1/8 of an inch in there, and then I'm just going to do a quick back tack and then close this up at about 5/8 inch seam allowance. So let me just go ahead and get all that as close as I can in there, and then do that quick back tack, making sure that you're about at that 2.5 inch stitch length, and then go ahead and close this up. And again, like, I'm making sure that my my seam allowances are riding around on that 5/8 inch seam line that's on my throat plate and my clear bobbin cover. And then when I get to the end, again, this is a very short stitch length. It's only about 2 inches long. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick back tack, raise my needle and my presser foot, and just trim all those thread tails out of the way. So I'm going to go back and trim that up, and trim up my thread tails. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up just to see how everything looks. Everything's looking pretty good. And then before, our last step before we finish is what we want to do is we want to just go ahead and just do a quick tacking to hold these seam allowances in place. And so what you can do is the part that we've closed up underneath of that zipper, go ahead and do a quick, let me go ahead and open this up, do a quick finger press. If you want to head back to the zipper real quick, just do a quick finger press on those like 2 inches that we just stitched, and then you're going to have your zipper kind of center right along those lines. And I'm going to go ahead and put just a pin in each side. And I'm going to do it long ways just for the time being, and then I can go ahead and flip everything around. So what we want to do is we just want to do a quick tacking to hold our seam allowance to that zipper. So I'm going to start at the bottom side of my zipper tape and just stitch maybe about 1 inch, inch to 1.5 inches up the zipper tape, connecting it to just the seam allowances only. And I'm going to go ahead and keep my zipper foot on, my E-zipper foot, and the way that I'm going to start is I'm going to adjust it to do the bottom. I'm looking at it upside down, but the bottom right hand side, so I had to switch my zipper foot over so that it's connecting to the left side, so that the majority of my zipper foot sits to the right of my zipper, so that I'm not going to be going over those coils. There's a little shelf on the underside, and that fits directly with your the shelf on your zipper foot kind of fits directly with those coils. Alright, and I just want to go maybe about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Tack these in place, make sure that nothing's going to jump out on me, and I can go ahead and trim that up. Trim up those thread tails, and I'll do a quick zoom in so hopefully you can kind of see what I did here after I get all my thread tails kind of cut out of the way. So what I did was I just came back and just simply stitched the zipper tape to the seam allowances only. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same on this side, but I want to get all this out of the way. And I'll come back in and just quickly pin this in for the time being. And again, I have to flop my zipper foot to the other side so that I'm not going to be running over the coils. And I'm just going to go ahead and lower that needle in, again making sure the shelf of that zipper foot is running right along the edge of the coils. I'm just going to do those stitchings for about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And when I get up to the point where I want to stop, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick back tack and then trim up all those tails. Alright, and then make sure that you always trim them at the bottom, because you don't want to have your flyaway threads get caught up in your zipper, because that can cause some havoc. Alright, let's go ahead and open this up so we can see our handiwork. And when you go ahead and zip this, you want to be gentle with it, but it should zip up. And the way that mine kind of ended is that my zipper stops right at the top of this, and you know, ideally on a top of a skirt like this, you'd probably attach a waistband, so the waistband would be ended right here, and then I'd probably have a skirt hook that would complete this top of the zipper. That's that. This is your invisible zipper. It's not too bad. You shouldn't be able to see any of your actual zipper or zipper teeth from your finished seam line. So when you're done, just make sure that you give this a good quick press and label it as your invisible zipper and place it in your binder.